enamore. No te quiero.
Hello there, what is up? Duality of Game here, and we are back with another Mewgenics passive tier list, and this time it is the Thief. The Thief is one of my favorite classes in Mewgenics. With their incredible speed and solid range, they can take care of enemies from a good distance away while minimizing how much damage you take on your own. And they have plenty of powerful passives that help them with this, and we're going to be going over all of them today. Now, compared to last video where we ranked the fighter, there was a lot less structure, so real quick, I'm just going to simply outline what the tier list is here and how I'm ranking it. We have a couple of tiers here. At the top, it's I've already won. If a passive goes here, then that's it. I've already won the game. Nothing else really needs to change. I don't need to add any equipment. I don't need to change my moveset. I've just won the game. I don't know if there'll be any here. We're just going to see. Next up, we got Oh Heck Yeah. These are passives that I'm excited to see and play around with, but might require a bit of synergy to help realize their full potential. Still very strong passives, but not overly broken like, the other ones that I've already mentioned. Then you got stuff like, I can work with it. It's these iffy passives that do need a bit of work in order to be super strong, but do have their own unique skills that can help the cat win the run. Oftentimes, though, there are better options, and usually these are like the weaker versions of other strong passives, which I'll get to later. Then we have Replace as soon as possible. If a passive falls in here, it's just really bad. It's a passive that could oftentimes be detrimental to your run, and just is really hard to work with in any type of run that you do. Therefore, it's best to just replace it and get rid of it, but you can still use it in the run to get a couple of wins. But then you have Abandoned Adventure. If a passive is truly that bad, just insufferable to use, absolutely awful, then you just click the menu and abandon that adventure. It's already over, there's no point of even playing. I don't know if there are any passives that I consider to be Abandoned Adventure worthy. Some maybe off the top of my head, there's definitely one here I want to talk about, but everything else is it's usually fine. Both the top and the bottom tiers here are going to be very empty for the most part. You're going to see very few really amazing passives and just a very few horrible ones. But hopefully there aren't any here, but we'll just have to see. And now, let's get to how I'm actually ranking these passives, which I believe some people had trouble with during the last tier list. I'm ranking them based on how well they do in 3 different types of runs. How well they do in just a normal basic run with 4 cats, how well they do in a solo run when it's just your cat all alone, and how well they do in an impossible run. Are there specific elite buffs that completely counter your build? Or does it actually get stronger depending on if there are elite buffs at all? This really matters when it comes to picking a really solid passive, and so that's why we're going to take it into effect here. And there's one more little thing we want to rank. Crossbreeding. How good is it to put your passive on another cat, or different classes overall? I know there's some really strong fighter passives that revolve around weapons that a Tinkerer would absolutely love, so maybe there's something here for a Thief that would do really good on Necromancer, Psychic, Monk, something like that. So, I say we get right into it. Ranking all Mewgenics passives. Starting with After Image. When you move, spawn a shadow where you moved from. The shadow mimics your basic action, but fades away at the end of your turn. And the upgraded version is, shadow version will never disappear at the end of the turn. Now, this is probably the obvious one to say that this one kind of sucks. Oftentimes, you'll spawn the shadow from right where you move and slap yourself in the butt. It happens a lot more than you think. Even the creator of the game, Edna McMillan, the god that he is, just keeps slapping his ass. It happened several times during his gameplay videos on his main channel. I can just pull up a couple right now.
There's special loot connected to the first 2 DLCs, maybe? I don't remember how many DLCs.
I'm hitting the fucking cleric. Damage it. That's a crit. Why did your skull cap break? Oh, fuck! Who made me take this thing? I don't want After Image.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to use this thing. You basically need a PhD in geometry in order to even be decent with it. I've had a video recently with a Tinkerer using Immaculate Heart, and then combining that with the Steven's Shadow Bum thing. spawn a million shadow clones and then just spam sparkles. Really good. So I'm assuming you can do the same with After Image here. But alright, let's get to the serious rankings here. How good is it in a normal basic run? There are so many good passives on the Thief that would be a lot better to have than just this one. Like, the fact that this passive is the way it is literally like cripples how effective the class can be. Constantly having to like babysit the stupid shadow limits how you move, limits where you aim and attack. If you're surrounding your team when you first start the battle and walk forward and try to attack like up or something, and then there's your cleric sitting there, tough luck. You can't attack from that direction, or you risk hurting them. It's very annoying. I would say this is very weak starting off. But in a solo run, you can see a bit of an improvement. You don't have to worry as much about positioning since you're the only cat on the field. It's a lot less of a load to handle. And those shadow clones can actually be pretty useful at deterring enemies. The Thief themselves has a bunch of different mobility options to spawn a bunch of these things on the field and can stack damage like crazy. And then in an impossible run, shadow clones actually might be beneficial. The mirror buff can actually kind of be ignored if you like throw your nail with the shadow clone since it'll just hit the shadow clone and so you don't take damage. I guess. Ugh. It's just not a good passive. They need to figure out how to make this thing better because right now, it just feels like you're hurting yourself more than actually hurting the enemy team. And then how good is it to crossbreed? Well, Thief is already the most mobile class in the game, and while other classes do have cheap teleport options, all that stuff, their basic attacks don't really make up for it. The only one that would be like a solid basic attack would be something like Druid, where you can stack a bunch of clones, then basic attack all at once to get a massively boosted Crow or something. And then with like, I don't know, Form of the Deer or some nonsense to refresh your movement, spawn a bunch of them. Overall, crossbreeding's a bit weak, and you definitely hate to have a giant brain in order to use it, which I know some people may be allergic to, me included. Overall, it's just such a hassle to make this thing work when many other passives are just easier to use. I honestly would just abandon my adventure as soon as I get it. No questions asked. Our next passive? Agile. You get +2 movement range. If you move fewer tiles than your full movement range, you can move a second time for the rest of your movement range. The upgraded version gives you 4 movement range, and then you can move a second, third, and fourth time within your movement range. This is actually a passive that would be useful with After Image. Being able to move a constant amount of times in a single turn lets you spawn a bunch of these clones, for example. But we're talking about Agile here. What is the point of Agile? Well, getting in and getting out. Finding an enemy they have to take down, getting rid of them, and then bolting back. It's very simple. There are a bunch of Thief mobility options in the form of like active spells that do this job, but those cost mana. This is free. There you go. That's why this passive exists. And with the upgraded version, you can move very far with that +4 movement range, basically the entire map. Since Thieves get that +4 movement speed buff when you already select their class, they're already going to be really fast. And now they're just zooming all over the board. It's a pretty consistent option for movement, and can really benefit with a bunch of the other passives that are on this list. Swift Looter, where you collect coin pickups and whatnot, and Shakedown, which also drops pickups. It's just really good with pickup builds, so to speak. Let's talk about specific runs. In a normal run, Agile's pretty good. You can use this cat as like a hitman of sorts, targeting specific enemies you have to take down and, retreat with. It's just good movement, and really exemplifies the Thief's overall strengths. In a solo run, it's not as crazy offensive as other abilities in the game, to make up for the lack of other DPS. However, the extra movement can help you avoid damage, which is crucial in a solo run. And in an impossible run, there's not really a whole lot that limits movement range other than, Tar. Tar could kind of put a wrench in your works, but most other things won't. Although the super fast ones could catch up to you as well. I don't know, it seems kind of like the buffs don't really matter for that Thief specifically, if it has Agile. It's just extra movement range, can help you avoid some really weird enemies, no complaining there. And then how good is it to crossbreed? Well, most classes in the game, like fighters, tanks, butchers, and monks, like to be up close and personal with their enemies. So the extra movement range and being able to move around a bunch in the middle of their turn is actually really beneficial. Getting into specific positions to take out multiple enemies and to farm their buffs and la-di-da. So yeah, it's pretty good on the physical guys. The hunters, mages, druids, tinkerers, probably not as much though. not as universal as most other passives we might see here. Overall, Agile is just pretty good at what it does, which is providing extra movement to your thief and helping them get to where they need to be. I would say I could work with it. Up next, we have Backstabber. It's a simple ability, very simple indeed. Your backstabs are always critical, and the upgraded version gives you a random stat up when you land a critical hit. I have a little bit of a personal gripe with Backstabber. Now, is it a really good passive? Absolutely. Being able to get guaranteed critical hits is so good. Along with the many other critical hit passives that a thief has, just getting guaranteed ones is such a blessing. However, my one issue is that it kinda gets countered by specific bosses. Let me list off a few and see if you can identify what's wrong. Coven, Man in the Moon, Mother, Dreadnoughtus. No? Do you not see the problem? They don't have backs! All of their backs are completely hidden from your thief, and so this passive becomes completely useless. It is weak against specific bosses. The only one I can think of that's like pretty good is Act 1, is when Backstabber's most useful, but every other, like, going in Act 3 with Thief is already hard enough because DOS Future exists. You're telling me a whole passive gets shut down just because an enemy has their Tushy Tool wall? It's ridiculous. I actually had a really solid Thief run going Act 3 to the Jurassic, and then I uncovered this horrible fact, and I lost because I couldn't do any more damage. Yeah, it's awful. It's like trying to bring a Sparkle build into DOS Future. That's just like fated to lose. However, when Backstabber is good, it is good. Guaranteed critical hits means more damage and more likely a chance you get that pick when it matters. Most other critical passives you get with the Thief give specific buffs. Critical giving extra luck, pinpoint giving marked, shakedown dropping pickups, all that. Random stat ups are exactly that, completely and totally random. If you get a bunch of random boosting charisma, like that's not going to matter a whole lot for you. It's like really hard to get really solid value out of this passive, unless you get the backstabs that you want. But alright, we've blabbered on enough with stupid Backstabber. Let's get to the specific rankings. In a basic normal run, it's great. There are a bunch of enemies with their backs exposed, so he just walks over and smacks them for a lot of damage. Really good. In a solo run, it's very dependent on what path you're going. Obviously, whichever end boss you end up choosing might completely counter you. So, probably avoid the ones that don't have butts, is my personal advice. In an impossible run, just be careful of enemies that have mirror. That's like the big one that counters the thief. Some classes, like hunters, like guaranteed crits, but it can be a bit hard to use. Overall, it's okay for crossbreeding, but again, there are definitely better passives for it. Therefore, I think a pretty modest, I can work with it, will be just fine. Guaranteed crits are amazing, but there are other passives that revolve around crits that are much easier to work with. Next passive is Bounty Hunter. During your turn, one random enemy will have a bounty. The upgraded version says, during your turn, 2 random enemies will have a large bounty. Now, bounty is a really weird debuff. Simply put, any enemy that has a bounty on them will take 25% more damage from all sources. 25%! That is a steep modifier, just when you consider all of the damage that can be done in the game. And whenever you kill an enemy that has a bounty, you'll receive some coins, which is always pretty nice. The coins themselves aren't like the craziest thing ever, but it's the extra damage that can just blow this out of proportions. A little bit of extra damage here or there with a whole bunch of like multi-hit crit options. It just stacks damage quite nicely. And it's universal. All of your cats can target a cat with a bounty and then it'll just start beating on it for extra damage. It's like giving all of your cats a boost to their strength. It's just really strong. In a normal run, it's a great way to farm money and constantly get access to your shops. Most often, thieves will have other ways of making money, but it is just one way to do it. In solo runs, you're not worried about money as much, but the extra damage can come in clutch for certain bosses. In impossible runs, nothing really changes too much. I mean, the debuff can be applied to all enemies, regardless of their buffs. So, yeah, it's still a really strong option. Doesn't get countered, doesn't counter anything, just good. As for crossbreeding, the only class to use money-based stuff is the Thief, unfortunately. Although there are all those different, spend money to get rewards type spells, gym membership, the vet visit, all that stuff. So if you want to crossbreed with that, I guess it works. It's just like, there are better options, I'd imagine. Overall, it's a pretty okay passive. Nothing too crazy, but just a nice damage buff for your other cats when it's needed. I would say it goes at the end of I can work with it, but there probably are better passives to work with than this. Next passive, Burgle. Your basic attack will gain you 1 coin when it deals damage. The upgraded version makes it so your basic attack will give you a coin and spawn a coin pickup when it deals damage. Now, this is where we get into coin builds. Simply put, these are builds that revolve around picking up a bunch of coins and dealing a bunch of damage with them, like coin toss. You grab a coin, you can throw it at an enemy for large amounts of damage, and can constantly refresh this ability if you pick up coins constantly. This works with your passive ability. So, you can just keep farming coins with this, basically, if you could refresh your basic attack a whole bunch. Pretty strong. And by spawning all of those pickups on the ground with the upgraded version, you can refresh even more. There's also the other ability in the game, Golden Claws, which for every coin you get more damage. That just happens to stack quite nicely with this. So, you just get more money, get more coins, constantly spend those coins to get more buffs, la-di-da-di-da. You scale like crazy. But if you're not having any, bills to scale off your money, then you're just going to be rich with your pockets. In basic runs, your wallets will be stuffed full, so you don't have to worry about not getting that candy every time you go to the shop, which is always nice. But you're not really getting anything offensive for your other teammates. This might be one of the situations where your thief just kind of sits in the corner and does nothing, unfortunately. In a solo run, once again, it just depends on the other build you have. If you don't have any good, money builds, you're kind of just stuck there, which is very unfortunate, as you do need good damage in order to get through a solo run, no matter where you go. Bosses are some of the hardest things for a thief to deal with. Although they can stack good amounts of poison and bleed, direct damage with coins and whatnot kind of require you to get those coin builds going, and it requires all these different set pieces to get to that point. Burgle on its own is not going to help you get there, unfortunately. In an impossible run, money is not an issue when it comes to impossible runs, or whenever you end a battle, there's a specific coin modifier based on the difficulty. So you'll be getting even more money whenever you beat a run. Not saying it's worse, but it just kind of becomes pointless at that point. And for crossbreeding, again, the same thing before. There's really not a reason to earn money. You're going to have a lot of it in the end game. But hey, if you do need to farm coins, hey, this would be a great passive to do that. Get a bunch of money at the start, spend it on good furniture, get your levels boosted. Hey, that works, I guess. But in late game, when you're cleaning check marks or just trying to beat the game entirely, this passive will not be there to help you out, I imagine. I would say replace this one as soon as possible in most cases, but I could see it working out. Bounty Hunter does provide good utility, that's why it's up here, but Burgle just giving you money is a bit weaker. That's why we're going to put it in replace as soon as possible. Our next passive, Cripple. Your critical hits will inflict Immobilize and Weakness 2, and the upgraded version will Stun and inflict Weakness 2. Now, this is where the critical builds get crazy. Immobile is an amazing debuff to put on enemies. All those melee attackers just get completely shut down and can't do anything. It's so satisfying. But then, getting the upgraded version and full-on stunning them. It even turns ranged attackers into complete garbage. This is an amazing passive for utility thieves, ones that are providing passive support to the team, while your other fighters, monks, mages go in and carry all their damage. And there are plenty of ways to stack up luck and crits in this game, so you'll always have access to this. Going over the runs, a basic run, once again, just great utility. Your thief can run around stunning enemies for free and just gets to have the time of his life, I guess. It's just a really solid passive. In solo runs, getting stun is pretty good. Canceling out enemy damage means your cat gets to live longer. And if you can spread that damage out all over the place, you could shut down an entire enemy team from attacking on that turn, which is very satisfying. And in an impossible run, there are hardy enemies, which are completely immune to stun. They are, however, not immune to immobile. They will be slowed, so you can still beat them up. For crossbreeding, you could slap that on a hunter and have a long-range sniper build, which is amazing. Therefore, we'll put it up in oh heck yeah tier. Getting guaranteed stuns and immobiles is ridiculously strong. Our next passive, Critical. Now this is an amazing passive. Your critical hits will deal 100% more damage, and you'll gain luck every time that you make a critical hit. The plus version makes it so you also inflict bleed and weakness 1 whenever you inflict a critical hit. Now, let me teach you about multipliers. Multipliers, in any game, can lead to crazy amounts of damage. Take Smash, for example. This passive lets you deal triple the damage with your weapons. Now, if you could put this on a Tinkerer with Craft and constantly cycle those weapons, you're doing basic 4, 5, 6s, and 7s with your weapons to insane amounts of damage. 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s. You can even exceed that if you're able to scale your weapon damage. Electrolyze with that, adding 3 damage times 2, you're making ridiculous amounts of numbers there. And that's the same with this critical passive. 100% extra damage on any critical hit is insane, especially if you have the marked debuff, which guarantees critical hits on any attack that this hits on. If you have a really good way to farm critical hits, well then with this, you're just going to be doing a whole bunch more damage. And because you get passive luck up for every time you make a critical hit, eventually you will reach enough luck to crit every single time you attack, which just means all of your abilities get boosted by 100% extra damage on top of the double damage you already received from critting, which just means you're doing a buttload of extra damage. This is just outright an amazing passive. Not only does it reward a thief for playing the crit build exactly, there's a bunch of items and spells that already help you crit immediately, just like Horse Blinders, one of my favorite items to put on a thief, which gives 50% extra crit chance, and makes it so they can't even miss in front of them. It's just an easy cheat method to just instantly win any run. In a basic run, this thief's gonna be your breadwinner. They're gonna run across the entire map, critting everything, and there's just gonna be nothing left for the other teammates to do. In a solo run, even better. Put him up against a boss, and you're gonna see that poor thing get shredded. I've had several Thieves runs with critical, just absolutely annihilating Throbbing King before he can even get a turn in. 100 damage plus with Nail Flurry, like don't even get me started. Critical is very good, and with that luck scaling as well, you'll be able to get rewards for dodge chance, for blocking attacks, all the sorts. Basically your own cheat mode super luck. In an impossible run, there's no reason not to stack up luck. More luck means you get to dodge more attacks, you don't hit yourself in confusion as much. Luck is just really broken to have. You're basically just cheating your way into beating impossible mode, if you want to think about it like that. So yeah, you just kind of instantly win if you get this ability. And lastly, crossbreeding. Just putting this on any cat with super luck is just an instant win. It's just you already instantly crit so much. Whatever weapons or modifiers you put on that cat that reward like having a bunch of luck just get multiplied instantly. Even if you don't have super luck, being able to scale your luck as much as that makes any class just already broken. So yeah, I absolutely love critical. The extra like damage you get from this just melts bosses and rooms like nothing. I absolutely think critical belongs in I've already won tier. Next up on the list, double throw. Your basic attack will hit twice for half damage. The upgraded version makes it so it'll hit thrice for a third of the damage. Now you're probably thinking, why would I want to deal half damage? That sounds really bad. Well, my friends, half damage means double the chance to crit. And if you crit, you will deal twice your damage. Halved is just your normal damage. You see what I'm saying? It's an easy way to farm critical hits. So any of these other crit builds that you have get instantly more value. Not only that, if you have a way to scale your damage with like Golden Claws and any other items that you may find, well now you're hitting twice for extra amounts of damage. You can even use this with something like Shank or Shiv and get extra bonus damage whenever you get close to an enemy. It just gets ridiculously good with this passive. In a basic run, this is very flexible as it lets you deal, a bunch of poison damage. It can let you annihilate shielded enemies much easier. It rewards you for like backstabbing. It just exemplifies the other passives and abilities that you already have. It's just a passive buff that makes it really strong. Same thing with solo and impossible mode. I mean, you're triple casting a basic attack. That is ridiculously strong no matter how you put it. With the many different buffs and abilities around the basic attack that already exist, being able to do it 3 separate times can lead to some insane combos. And crossbreeding this gets even better. Crossbreeding this on a druid gives you triple the stacks of damage. Putting this on a fighter that can scale their damage with Merciless just makes it even faster for them to scale as well. It just makes it so much easier for other cats to reach their full potential. Overall, I'd say it goes up here near the top and oh heck yeah tier. Our next passive, First Strike. Now this is a fun passive. Simply put, you'll get an extra turn at the start of the battle. The plus version makes it so on this turn, all of the damage that you deal is critical. Guaranteed critical damage is a beauty. But that's not even the best part about this passive. The extra turn in it of itself instantly makes this one of the best passives of the entire game. Who here remembers the broken head mutation you can get from the end? The fact that they had to nerf that with -2 speed tells you everything. A bonus turn is just ridiculously strong. In fact, one of the best abilities in the game is Goofball, and this just gives you a bonus turn at the beginning of every round. The upgraded version gives you 2! We'll get to Goofball later, but simply put, getting that extra turn at the start is massive. The only issues I have with this passive is, at the very start of a battle, you are very far away from the enemies, and oftentimes that means if you're not fast enough, you'll be just out of reach of the enemies. However, your thief is fast enough that they're usually the first to go, so this bonus turn gets you close enough to enemies and allows you to deal a bit of chip damage before you retreat. On basic runs, a bonus turn lets you get into the fight even faster and kill all of those annoying enemies that you would normally have to deal with. In a solo run, this lets you scale yourself even faster. Just one extra turn to get your Rube Goldberg machine moving is enough oftentimes to carry your run. And in possible runs, I mean, do I need to tell you how good an extra turn is for getting rid of that one annoying resonant absorbent enemy? I mean, come on, it's a dream come true. Crossbreeding this thing is also just really strong. Any unit in the game would love an extra turn. An extra turn at the start of a battle is just ridiculously OP. I've already won if I've seen this passive. Our next passive, Flip a Coin. When you gain a coin, you have a 50% chance to spawn a coin on a random tile, and a 50% chance to gain 2 speed and 2 luck. The bonus version makes it so you have a 50% chance to spawn 2 coins on random tiles, and a 50% chance to gain 2 speed, 2 luck, and 2 dexterity. Now, of course, we've already mentioned how broken collecting coins can be, and this is one of the passives that really exemplifies that. Spawning more coins on the field, getting more luck and speed just makes you a demon. And that extra dexterity helps scale all of your weapons and spells. However, the weird 50% rule can be a bit weird. Sometimes you just don't get any additional coins to spawn, or you don't get any buffs from picking up coins. That's where the other passives and active abilities come in to help get all those coins that you need, but you could get really unlucky and only get coins. And then you kind of just sat around and wasted your time with the thief, while the very angry Carnibulb in front of you has decided to take a bite out of it. It's just very unfortunate that that can happen, but if it does go your way, you have an insanely fast and powerful cat on your hands. In a basic run, this cat's gonna be running around collecting coins like nothing, and it'll be able to zoom to the entire opposite side of the map by the time they have their whole setup ready. In a solo run, it's even better. Since you're the only cat on the field, you can focus more on picking up coins and farming your money as fast as possible. And impossible runs don't have any modifiers for coins, so you're free to farm as much as you want. Crossbreeding this spell, like the other coin-based passive, is pretty hard to do. Overall, it's a bit weird, a bit inconsistent, but when it works beautifully. I'd be happy to work with it whenever possible. And now, what we've been finally waiting for, our next passive, Golden Claws. You get 1 damage for each coin you collect in a battle, and the plus version makes that number 2. This is the coin passive. Simply put, I mean, it's bare bones as it is. Every time you get a coin, you get damage, and that just keeps scaling more and more and more. You can spawn in your own money like Eagle Eye and Shakedown and just farm money like crazy. You will get so much damage. This also helps if you have other thieves on the field to spawn even more coins for you, or even more pickups. This is easily one of my favorite passes in the game. If you're able to constantly find a way to get tons of money and just scale that damage, you'd be shocked how fast bosses die to you. Once again, it really relies on you having a really strong coin build. Otherwise, that passive's not going to be doing a whole lot. But if you get it, you'll be sitting pretty. In a basic run, you're just going to be running around collecting coins. and whenever you're ready to go and deal a strong hit, you'll be there. In a solo run, once again, you'll be the main focus, so it's a bit more risky and dangerous, but if you have the strong enough coin build to, insta-kill all the enemies that try to attack you, you'll be fine. In an impossible run, once again, same thing, coin builds aren't really affected by impossible difficulty, so just be mindful of mirror enemies and you'll be just fine. And also, crossbreeding this on other units is not insanely strong either. It's specifically thieves that get the most out of this. I would compare the coin builds to like butcher meat builds. Butchers benefit so much more from eating all of the meat and getting all these pickups that crossbreeding it doesn't really matter as much. Same thing with like spawning leeches with Necromancer, getting the Super Crow passive on other characters doesn't do anything, etc, etc. Crossbreeding these coin builds isn't really like important, but it is the best on the Thief and they make it look the best. Yeah, you kind of get 0 points for crossbreeding, however, we can't deny how amazingly strong this passive can be. We're going to put it up in an oh heck yeah tier, we're probably going to put it behind all the others in an oh heck yeah tier. Getting guaranteed immobilize is really strong, and hitting multiple times is broken too. So yeah, we'll put it in here. But trust me, it deserves this position. Our next passive, Loot Hoarder. This is a bit of a weird one. Automatically collect all pickups at the end of the battle if you're not downed. The plus version says automatically destroy all enemy bodies and collect all pickups at the end of the round if you're not downed. This is the most, not offensive ability in the entire game. All of the scattered random drops on the field that show up will be immediately picked up once the fight ends. Thing is, that's exactly the case. This has no battle value whatsoever. The only situation I can see this being good in is if there's a bunch of meat that's spawned at the end of the battle and it allows your thief to heal up a bit. But other than that, you're not doing a whole lot. However, this does allow you to farm a lot of good cash at the end of each round, which is always very nice. But literally, other than that, what's the point? I'd rather win the run than just get a bunch of random money. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of other passes in the game that can give you money and still give you damage during the run. This, however, just does not do much when you need to be fighting enemies. In a basic run, yeah, your thief might just be sitting in the corner doing some picks here or there, and then you get a whole bunch of money, which is fine. But in a solo run, you're not dealing any damage. You have your basic attack, some of your spells, and that's it. No extra benefits. If this is your first passive that you get in a run, you might be able to heal some meat at the end, which can keep you alive. But if you don't have the damage to get through the run, you're cooked. And this is even worse on impossible difficulty. With harder enemies, harder challenges, not having the crucial passives you need to carry you through, it's just going to be draining the entire time until there's no way you can keep up, even if you pick up all the meat after a battle. And crossbreeding this? Forget it. Why would you ever want to start a new run with this passive, collecting all of the pickups at the end of a round? Why would you not want to, give extra turns to your other cats? Use your basic attack multiple times. Even just move around more. Comparing this to all the other abilities, it just feels like a joke. I'm sorry to say, if you're a Loot Hoarder fan, this just is not that good of a passive. I would much rather have any other of these, even after Image, would be better to have than this. Maybe one day we can make it good, but for now, I'm gonna have to abandon the adventure if I ever see it. Next up, a much better passive, in my opinion. More. When you kill a unit, refresh your movement action. The plus version lets you refresh your movement action and your attack if you get a kill. This is like a different version of the fighter set. Whenever you kill a unit, there's a small chance you can refresh, your trinket, your movement, your consumable, and your attack. However, this is guaranteed every time you kill a unit. Refreshing your movement is already great. If you can move your thief out and get a pick in an important area, you'll get your movement action back, and you can come back to safety. And the plus version lets you double down again, constantly going around the map, getting those picks, and then just coming back to safety. It just rewards you for getting in and getting out. And if you can get the plus version, you can cycle all of those spells and just annihilate enemies. In a basic run, your thief might start off as a simple pick-me, going in, getting out, but once they get that upgraded version, they'll be able to sweep entire rooms of small enemies like that. Bigger enemies might be a bit of a struggle, but, that's what your other characters are for, right? And in a solo run, you'll have the ability to refresh much quicker. Stacking this with items that give you rewards for killing units is amazing. If you can constantly spawn your own guys with cheap, I don't know, with cheap spells like summon maggots, summon fleas, summon leeches, well then you can just constantly kill those guys, get the rewards, and keep going. And in an impossible run, it's a lot harder to kill enemies because they're tougher and more of them are champions. But if you do have the damage to do it, your thief will just sweep. Crossbreeding more is also very good. Slapping this on characters that can summon their own guys can constantly let you refresh and just get a bunch of damage out. Overall, just a very strong passive. Great for any type of thief that you're playing. I'll say we'll put it right behind in here, no heck yet here, behind the Cripple and the Golden Claws. Maybe not as crazy as the benefits you get from stunning, but still very strong even if you crossbreed it. Our next passive, Penetrate. This is a very odd one that completely changes how you play the thief. Your basic attack will pass through units and ignore shield. You also get +1 range. The bonus version gives you 10 whole range on your basic attack. Now, this turns your little basic run-around thief into a sniper, constantly aiming for a pack of grouped up enemies to throw a kneel straight through all of them. You can also play it super safe, just camping out bosses and annoying enemies if you want, sitting in the back and just throwing darts at them all you want. Since this ignores shield, you can get through Holy Mantle nonsense and those shielded enemies in impossible mode. It's a pretty solid passive, all things considered. Maybe not the craziest thing, like, you know, getting an extra turn or throwing your basic attack out a whole bunch, but what it does is beautiful. In a basic run, your thief will be able to sit back and relax as he constantly snipes all the enemies in a row. A solo run, even better. Sit back and watch as all the enemies are struggling to make their way up the hill as you're constantly barreling them with knives all the way in the back. And impossible run, like I mentioned earlier, you can ignore shielded enemies and Holy Mantle stuff entirely, which is amazing for certain enemies and bosses. For example, Steven, that slime boss at the end of Chaos, that guy has shield. You have to deal like a whole bunch of hits to that stupid slime in order to get rid of it. With this passive, you don't have to worry about that at all. Crossbreeding, it's a bit weird though. Hunters and mages don't get the benefit, even though it might seem like it. See, you only get a range boost with this passive. If you have a bunch of reach stacked up though, I do believe fighters, butchers, and tanks can attack in a straight line, which could be really cool. I've just never seen it before. If you guys do know how that interaction works, please let me know. Overall, it's just a pretty fun passive to have. Not crazy like the other ones up here, but I can definitely work with it. Our next passive, Pinpoint. Oh, Pinpoint, my beloved. Your critical hits inflict marked. And the plus version makes it so your critical hits will deal 100% more damage. Now this is a beautiful passive, rewarding you for just having high luck. You'll be able to get guaranteed critical hits whenever you get a critical hit. This is similar to the Bounty passive, where you constantly give a debuff so your other cats can get rewards from it. Even like Hunter's hit or miss abilities like Heavy Shot, Luck Swing, all that nonsense. This will basically guarantee it, and do a bunch of damage to the enemy. And the plus version, giving extra % damage, like I've explained with critical before, is just a nice bonus, being able to deal consistent high marks of damage. In a solo run, that extra damage could mean the difference between you winning and losing a run. As long as you have initial high damage, you'd be able to get through a run lickety-split. In impossible mode, Marked also ignores shielded enemies, and can also help prevent the Lucky and Sandstorm guys from getting lucky misses. So, once again, you're just providing good buffs for your allied team to hit those really hard enemies to kill. And as for crossbreeding, any cat would love to be able to give Marked to their allies. Stuff like Hunters, for example, with their long range, can give Marked to a whole bunch of enemies at once. Pinpoint's just a bit ridiculous, man. I'd say it's on the same level as Pinpoint up here. Either better or worse. You guys let me know, but I think I'll put it right above it. A little bit behind the multi-attack passive. Our next passive, Poison Tips. Simply put, your basic attack gets poison 1. The plus version makes it so all poison that you inflict is doubled. Now, let's get to poison. What a wonderful debuff, am I right? Poison, once applied to an enemy, will constantly tick at the start of every turn. Unlike fire, it does not reduce its count every time it's activated and will persist between rounds. Getting high amounts of poison on a target that has lots of turns like bosses, you'd be shocked at how fast they just go down. Constantly having 30, 40, and 50 ticks of poison pop off on these bosses just melts them instantly. And since the plus version doesn't have to be the basic attack that does the poison, stuff like, the poison, dart, nightshade, and any other items that you have will just scale the poison so much. On a basic run, you'll be able to shred these bosses like nothing. And since the poison ignores shield, you can also get rid of some pretty annoying enemies with that as well. In a solo run, if you can stack up a bunch of poison on bosses, they go down easy, no doubt about it. In impossible difficulty though, there's certain enemies that can ignore your poison entirely. Those guys might be a bit annoying. Crossbreeding poison tips can be pretty fun too. Stuff like druids who have their own poisonous passives, and snakes and all the other stuff would love to be able to inflict extra bits of poison. Poison is a fine debuff, and I think it can go comfortably, probably in front of Golden Claws there. Our next passive is Razor Claws. Your basic attack will inflict bleed 1. Very similar to the poison tips here, however the plus version makes it so all of your damaging abilities will inflict bleed 1. Bleed is a bit different from poison. The stacks don't go away, but will instead increase at the end of each round. However, they will only proc at the end of the round. See the difference? Now, stacking bleed and stacking poison are very different. Poison is oftentimes better at targeting those smaller enemies, but stacking bleed on a boss is also very strong. And once you can get a really cheap spell to inflict a punch of bleed on your bosses, well, that's a bunch of damage you're getting for free and no sweat. On a basic run, you'll deal a bunch of passive damage to the enemies while your main guys will finish them off. In a solo run, it'll be your main method of killing them, bleeding your enemies dry as you stand over their bodies. And in impossible runs, no one is immune to the bleed, so you just get to do more of it. Crossbreeding bleed can be interesting as there are a couple of passives that reward it. Stuff like the fighter's blood zerk. Being able to be reduced to 1 HP but then healing off of bleeding enemies means you get one little bit of bleed on an enemy, activate blood zerk, and just start going to town, instantly healing up. That's one of my favorite combos, but I've never had it work yet. I'll see what I can do eventually. It's pretty okay. I mean, just having bleed on your basic attack isn't the craziest thing, but it can be pretty fun when it matters. I think it's a little bit worse than poison, just because it's easier to stack poison than it is bleed, and oftentimes poison is better against bosses. So we could put it right here. I think would be a great spot for it. Our next passive, Shakedown. Your critical hits will spawn a coin and a random pickup. The plus version gives you 25% extra crit chance, and you'll spawn 2 random pickups when you crit. Now, this is the perfect way to generate money with a coin build. Since you're already going to be wanting to do critical hits with a thief, you're guaranteed to get a whole bunch of random pickups and coins on the floor, and get a whole bunch of good buffs from them. Stuff like flip a coin, golden claws, want those coins. So if just getting critical hits, you're passively getting more coins, stacking your luck up more, and by the time you realize it, you already have 50 luck, and there's still like 1 million coins on the floor. Also really good with pickup builds, similar to stuff like Tinkerer, constantly picking up, those pickups and getting tech for them, or Hunters picking up pickups for crafting arrows on bonus attacks, or the Pika disorder, constantly picking up coins to heal, if you want to do that for some reason. In a basic boring run, you'll be farming money just like any other build, but getting extra crit chance on that plus version does make you a bit more useful. And those 2 random pickups you spawn can be holy mantles, meat, random catnip. I mean, you just get a little bit more utility. In a solo run, you better hope you have the coin build in order to sustain yourself. But if you do, I mean, it's just the freest win ever. Stacking all that insane luck and damage and all the other wonderful buffs that you get from picking up coins is just super easy with Shakedown. And once again, coin builds don't really matter against, impossible mode. So, just hack away. Crossbreeding this ability, once again, depends on what you're going to be using it for. As I said, the after-mentioned craft arrows ability with the hunters can be pretty strong. I'd be comfortable putting this at the top of I can work with tier. Maybe not something I'm always going to be wanting, and yeah, maybe its offense could be a bit lacking at times, but I'm not going to say no to it. Our next passive, one of the more weird ones, Shank. When behind and adjacent to an enemy, your basic attack is a melee attack that hits twice. The plus version makes it so it's a basic attack that hits thrice. Now, here's a weird thing with thieves. They actually lose stats in their strength whenever you pick a thief, so the melee attack that you're going to be having isn't too strong. However, it's the same benefit when using double throw passive, that you get to use your basic attack multiple times. Constantly activating new buffs, critting more, all the sorts. And hey, it works with Backstabber too, another reason to pick it. Oftentimes though, it's easier to scale strength than dexterity. I mean, every flat strength up that you get just gives you more damage, while dexterity has a weird calculation around it where it's like, you need like 1, 2.5 dexterity in order to get 1 damage up. It's really weird and convoluted. In a basic run, they're going to be running around, targeting those really weird enemies and just annihilating them instantly. And in solo runs, again, it has the same issue with Backstabber, where if the enemy doesn't have a butt, this passive's not going to be doing a whole lot. So just be selective with where you go, and you should be fine. Same thing with Impossible mode. Crossbreeding Shank, however, can get very fun. Putting this on fighters who already have initial high strength just gives them even more damage. Hitting them hit twice and thrice as hard. However, once again, if they don't have a butt to hit, this passive isn't going to be doing a whole lot. Very tragic. I think this passive belongs with its brother in I Can Deal With It tier. Critical hits are strong and generally do more damage than just getting a backstab, so I think we can put it behind and that not be an issue. Our next passive is Shiv. Your basic attack has +2 damage, 25% crit chance, and inflicts bleed 1 when attacking a unit in melee range. The bonus version gives you 50% crit chance and does bleed 2. Now, the difference between Shank and Shiv is that it doesn't matter if you're behind a unit, just being in melee range gives you this bonus. So thieves can get up close, deal that extra damage, and get that extra crit chance, stacking a little bit of extra bleed, and it can usually kill the enemies that they need to kill. With their high mobility, they'll be able to get exactly where they need to be, and then get out as fast as possible. In a basic run, Thief will once again just be going in, killing those enemies, and getting out. It's kind of just their thing. They go in, deal the high amounts of burst damage, then just kind of chill and wait till they find the next target. And this passive is even better at helping them do that. In a solo run, being able to get up close and personal with enemies is a bit scary, but the extra damage and crit chance can matter. And plus, the extra bleed damage on bosses is just a nice little bonus. Impossible mode, it's very risky to get close to enemies in that one. So it's all about how you play. You can either be your greatest ally or your biggest detriment. Crossbreeding this, however, is the best part about this passive. However, my favorite part about this passive is crossbreeding it, specifically on a monk. Since they can attack twice every turn, or maybe multiple times with Way of the Mantis, they get the boosted stats of the Shiv, and can still use all their other abilities for free. I love crossbreeding Shiv. However, it's pretty hard to use on thieves normally. I would put it right next to Agile, personally. Next up, we have Stealthed. Start each battle with Stealth, and then the upgraded version gives you Stealth every time you get a kill. Stealth is a very good buff. You'll get 50% dodge chance, and you'll lose it if you ever take a single bit of damage. However, 50% dodge chance is just basically sitting in your own tall grass. It's really strong, and with the high luck the Thief already has, it's going to be very hard for enemies to hit you at times. Even better if you can scale your luck with other passives like mentioned before. And if you ever lose it, the plus version will just give you it right back. In a basic run, you can even use your Thief as bait, throwing him out into the middle of dangerous battle and tanking hits in heavy quotations, and then lets your other characters move up and try to deal damage. In a solo run, you're losing out on damage, of course, but that extra utility from dodging all the damage that you could be taking is wonderful. In an impossible run, you gotta look out for the lucky enemies. Those guys have increased odds of hitting you, so always be careful whenever you're facing one of them. And crossbreeding Stealth is even better. Obviously putting this on a super luck cat is ridiculous. You will never get hit again. The feeling of pain will soon fade from your memory if you equip this on a super luck cat. It's pretty solid, but the lack of damage does kind of rub me the wrong way. However, I cannot deny just a flat 50% dodge chance. I put this in I could work with it tier. Our next passive, Sweet Spot. You get +1 range, and your basic attack will deal more damage the farther away you are from the target. The plus version gives you 6 range instead. This is a pretty awkward passive to work with, dealing more damage the further you are away from the enemy. I guess it does build into the whole hit and run archetype that the Thief has going for him. The plus version takes that to another level though, turning into a full sniper build. Where have I heard that before? Ah yes, Penetrate. In fact, Penetrate passive and the Sweet Spot passive have a wonderful synergy. Being able to reach ridiculously long ranges with this guy, you can snipe enemies from the entire other side of the map, and God forbid you crit. That does double the damage plus the initial range damage for each tile that you are far away from the opponent, and then they just explode. It's very powerful and very funny. It's great if you have this on a simple basic run, being able to get rid of those annoying enemies and protect your other guys from those potent threats. In a solo run, you need a bit more damage in order to actually get through a run, but it does help those really annoying rooms. And same thing goes for an impossible run. You need more damage, but you'll be able to get those important picks with your other guys if you need it. Crossbreeding this passive, however, can be a bit interesting. We already have a very similar passive to this, being Gravity Falls on the Hunter, which basically does the exact same thing. However, this one gives a much bigger range boost. I wonder if they stack. You know, like if you put Gravity Falls and Sweet Spot on the same cat. I don't think anyone's ever tried that before. Let me know if that actually works. It is a pretty fun combo once you get used to it, but its lack of boss damage can be a bit threatening. I'll put it somewhere near, actually right next to Penetrate. Next up, one of the iconic coin passives, Swift Looter. Whenever you collect a coin pickup on the ground, refresh your movement action, and extra coins will spawn on the battlefield at the beginning of the round. The plus version gives you extra dexterity and speed for every coin that you pick up, while still refreshing your movement action. You also get like extra coins on the field whenever you start. This is the coin build engine. Being able to move around whenever you pick up coins again just makes your cat insanely potent. If there's a bunch of coins spawning on the enemy's side, you can go over, pick up a couple coins, do all the damage that you need, and then just bolt whenever you're done. And if you have the plus version, you'll get more speed and more dexterity, which just means more damage and a better ability to run away. God forbid you also get like a coin build going for you. Coin toss with this, and shakedown, constantly spawning more coins near the enemies that you hit with this, so you constantly move around them and toss more coins and grab more coins, getting more damage and more speed, getting to access more coins on the field. It just, wow. Swift Looter is absurd when it comes to moving around a bunch. I assume this also works with After Image, but once again, the problem is, the basic attack would constantly be hitting your own guys or yourself if you're not paying attention to where you're going. In a basic run, this cat will be able to just run the game if there's extra coins on the field. Stuff like the Payday event, for example, spawning extra, coins, even Trash Day with extra trash bags. It's a playground for thieves to go around and do all the damage they need to. In a solo run, you do need the coin build in order to be super effective, but the extra movement can help you dodge some damage here and there. Impossible runs, same thing, coin builds aren't too important. The extra movement helps avoid certain enemies, la-di-da. Crossbreeding this, though, can be a bit weird. While there's no real synergies with the coins on the other classes, the movement thing there definitely is. Stuff like running jab on monks, for example, can be very strong, as you can constantly use your basic attacks and refresh your movement actions and all that stuff. I'd say for all the extra movement, you can slap it in oh heck yeah tier, probably above the Golden Claws. But, I don't know. Maybe not. I'll keep it there for now. Our next passive, Weak Spot. Your basic attack will ignore shield and inflict weakness 1. The plus version makes it so all of your damaging abilities ignore shield and inflict weakness 2. You also get 25% crit chance. Ignoring shield, like I've said earlier, can be the life and death of an impossible run. So getting Weak Spot on one of your cats for this can be amazing. However, if there is no shield to penetrate, well then you kind of have an issue, don't you? However, basic attack also just inflicting weakness 1 can be pretty good, slowing down and reducing the damage of a single enemy. The plus version giving extra crit chance is also very potent, as it helps build to your other crit builds, and the extra weakness can help here or there. In a basic run, your thief's just gonna run around, weakness a guy or two, and if there's a really weird shielded enemy like a Geo Lad or an amoeba with a rock sitting on it, well, they're not gonna be lasting long. Yeah, this ability is specifically designed to counter robot enemies, the rock ones. All these weird enemies with a whole bunch of shield, they don't stand a chance to this passive. It definitely has a niche, that's for certain. But that niche can also mean it doesn't really do much if there's no shield to pierce. Just like in a solo run, just having weakness as your initial buff whenever you start a run can be pretty rough to deal with. Since you're not stacking extra poison or bleed or developing any extra crit chance, you could be stuck in the mud if you start a solo run with this. And in impossible runs, there's a whole bunch of Holy Mantle and shielded enemies that will spawn in, so dealing that extra red HP is crucial. Overall, it's a fine passive that does this job quite well, but there are other passives that kind of have the same, basic attack effectiveness that do a lot better. You can put it in, I can work with it, but it's really dependent on what you're doing in that run. And our final passive, Zip. Your movement action is Shadow Step. The plus version makes it so you can use a movement action extra time each turn. Now, what is Shadow Step? It's like a teleport, basically. Instead of walking your way to your location, you'll just already be there. This helps you ignore traps on the field and dodging eyesight from enemies and whatnot. It's not too crazy, but it is very flashy and pretty cool. The plus version letting you move an extra time each battle is also very strong, as already said with like Swift Looter. Another notable advantage of Shadow Step is not having to worry about getting blocked in by enemies. See, if you're normally walking through a path, if an enemy is blocking a certain corridor, you can't get past them without killing them and whatnot. But with Shadow Step, you can just go whoop and get right behind them instantly. In a basic run, I imagine this guy's just kind of be moving around the field, dealing damage, and, without getting stuck in the corners, can be very agile and annoying for the enemies to kill. In a solo run, you're going to need a bit more meat, but once again, not being able to get cornered against enemies can be very useful, as usually getting cornered by all the enemies in a solo run is how you lose. Same thing goes for impossible runs. Crossbreeding Shadow Step can be pretty good though. There's plenty of, movement-based items and passives, like I've already explained with Swift Looter. It's fine, not the craziest thing, but I honestly would say it's good to just replace as soon as possible. There's not going to be too many traps or effects on the field that Shadow Step's going to negate, and oftentimes you're not going to put yourself in a corner to get trapped. My personal opinion, it's a bit weak of a passive that could definitely use a buff. Maybe like getting extra movement range or something like that. And there you go. That's all the passives ranked for the Thief in Mewgenics. I bet there are some controversial ones here. I mean, this list was kind of put pretty fast together. Do let me know what you guys think. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.